Are you ready to explore the exciting tech world like never before? Welcome to Better You, the podcast where we dissect the latest in business, technology, and startup trends, all with a keen focus on growth. So buckle up and get ready to stay ahead of the curve. Let's make you a better you.
This episode is brought to you by Propel Auth, the easiest way to make authentication your advantage. For B2B SaaS companies, great authentication is non-negotiable, but with Propel Auth, it's more than just functional, it's powerful. With tools like managed UIs, enterprise SSO, robust user management features, and actionable insights, Propel Auth adapts as your product grows. And the best part, when auth is effortless, your team can focus on scaling, not troubleshooting. That means more releases, happier customers, and more growth for your business. Check them out at www.propelauth.com. That's www.propelauth.com.
So, folks, welcome to another exciting episode of Better You. Today it's 13th of December, the Friday, and I'm not a superstitious guy, so I don't believe in scary stuff. But I do believe sometimes that ghosts are real. I'm joking. I have a very interesting guest today with me. Her name is Wendy Turner. A little context about Wendy. She's the leader in data and cloud. I will have Wendy introduce herself. And the way I'm planning to do this episode, learn more about Wendy, her task or her work in the data and cloud industry. And then based on as the conversation unwraps, we will talk about a lot of trends, what 2025 is coming up, and future trends in the data and cloud, and also the thought leadership, which Wendy brings to the table. Wendy, welcome. And I'm so excited to have you here.
Yeah, thank you, Niraj. It's a pleasure to be here. So as you mentioned, Wendy Turner-Williams. Let's not forget the Williams
Thank
part
you.
of this. I married last names. My husband always gets irritated. But yeah, I'm happy to be here and on December the 13th, Friday the 13th. I'm always looked at these days as lucky days for me.
Yes.
Weird. I think superstition sometimes is really based in a lot of old logic, you know what I mean, that may not make sense anymore, but I've always considered them very, very lucky days.
It's funny because 13th is my daughter's birth date, and I said, Jasmine, I love and actually before she was born, 13 was just my lucky number, because in India, I grew up in India. In India, there are no, like, nobody or most of the people, they don't use number 13 because they think 13 as a death, right? Or whatever. But then the funny part, Wendy, Taylor Swift last year, she said, or this year, she said, her lucky number is 13. Then I call my daughter. I'm like, Jasmine, you know what? Your birthday is all screwed up. She said, why? I said, Taylor Swift just announced that her lucky number is 13. Now everybody's going to start using number 13 everywhere.
Right. Well, if Taylor Swift said it, then that's it. The 13's now like a popular number. But, I've always, for me, for some reason, these days, just throughout my lifetime, Friday the 13th has always been a lucky trend in my life. So, take it or leave it. But most people can't even quote how those superstitions started. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
If it's relevant anymore, but yeah, officially, I guess I'm a Swiftie fan now, apparently. So I'm a fan of the 13th.
Swiftie fan, I love it. So Wendy, give us some idea. How did you start in this space, in data space?
Yeah. So to get more context back on the introduction, before I jump into the space. So we covered my name clearly. My background is 25 plus years basically in the software services kind of infrastructure space. I was working in cloud before the name cloud existed because I was a telecom at the time, which is now networking, right? And, people didn't have the concept of cloud. So how I got started was a mix of, frankly, a lot of luck and a lot of just kind of determination and kind of understanding how corporate systems work. I got hired out of college as a tech writer because I have a history degree, which just had nothing to do with my career in my entire life. But I had a history degree and I got hired by a telecom company to be a tech writer for a software that they were selling to other telecom companies. And the funny thing is that between when they hired me, my senior year of college, during spring break, I mean, by the time I graduated, they had sold the software, and they circled back and were like, "We love you still. We'd like for you to come on. Can you be an auditor, like a line cost auditor?" And I was just like, in my head, I was like, I hated accounting classes at college. But I was also like, I have a history degree. I have no idea what I'm going to do with my life, but I don't want to teach. So I took the job. Anyway, fast forward, what tended to happen is that that first job became the backbone of my career in multiple ways. Because one, it was very data heavy. My job was to find anomalies in billing from other telecom companies versus the basically contractual agreements that we had made for that billing, and to find where they were not billing us correctly. But in addition, I ended up not even spending a full year in finance because within, I think, 9 months, I got recruited heavily by the IT group to basically come and join them. And that's because I started making relationships, right? I mean, I think most people's career they'll find is really about networking and the relationships that they build, okay? And we would have like support issues, right? Like with anything else. And we call IT and say, I've got this problem in the system and it's blocking me from doing my work. And I would take the time to answer questions or show them, like, here's what's happening. Like, I'm going here, and then I'm on this particular page, and these aren't adding up, or these are blah, blah, blah. And that turned into that IT group starting to come to me for every single issue, not just what I reported, but every issue. And then coming to me and saying, we want to create a custom role for you. We need someone who basically is a business analyst who understands the business and can help us be more effective in how we design and support the system. And they made a role. The funny thing about that is I was so non-technical at the time, right? Like I remember taking one programming class at college. And I remember the first test, I flunked it. And I was like, I hate this. And I dropped it. Okay. And my husband at the time, my first marriage was a programmer. Okay. And he was like, you're not a programmer. You're not an engineer. You're going to fail horribly going into IT. And so I took 3 months almost to decide going into that position, with them promising me I didn't have to write code. I wasn't going to be in the code, all this other stuff. And then within, I think, 3 months of joining, the lady who recruited me retired. And I all of a sudden I was, I think, 25, 24 years old. And I had 20-something developers reporting to me. I got, all of a sudden, we were building the first data warehouse in the company. This was like 1997.
Wow.
And so we were building the first data warehouse ever in the company. And it got handed to me because we were going to start with financials, and I was supporting all the financial systems. And I was in a Unix class, and I was in a C# class, and I was literally learning on the fly, right? And so I would say that's how I got my start. From there, I took that same concept of continuous learning, understanding the business, plus technical prowess to continue evolving my career, over the years.
Yeah, I mean, that's brilliant. And looks like you just dived in and you just started learning stuff. And I think the biggest thing, as you dived in and you started managing people, I'm sure that brought the new set of challenges for you. Because people who are reporting to you, they want to learn from you. They see you as a mentor, coach, and advisor. And so now I'm actually very interested. How did you navigate those challenges?
Yeah, it was very interesting back at the time. I think the timing of it all was actually very what I want to say, like it lended a hand to that journey on myself because again, I was very young. I was right out of college and I was managing not just a lot of developers, but a lot of them were in their like late 40s to even 50s at the time. And I think that, there's a couple of things that lended some benefit to me. It was an era where there was a lot of technical changes happening, right? Like the core system at that point in time at that particular company was a mainframe, but they were evolving to on-prem. And again, we were building an on-prem data warehouse, which was not a mainframe base. I was using relational tables, etc. They didn't know any more than I did. And the reality was that their technical skills didn't actually meet that moment. And my business skills and ability to actually understand the business and translate that into business kind of human-centric design that was needed within the actual reporting systems was not something that they had, right? So that moment was an easy shift, but I've had lots of moments over my time. Like I'll give you another example. This was years later at another telecom company that I would say one of the biggest kind of digital transformations that I did was at that time. Everyone's familiar with the call before you dig systems, right? Like every city you live in, everywhere you live, if you're going to put in a pool in your backyard, there's this number that you'll see on signs everywhere that say you got to call before you dig so that you don't cut like electrical lines or fiber networks or whatever. Well, the company that I worked for, obviously a telecom company, so they had this. They also were supporting the U.S. government at the time because a lot of their fiber was in oil pipelines that was running along railroads, and the government wanted them to monitor the railroads at the same time. So it was a really big deal. We had a very large call center, like 500 people plus, that was answering calls all across the U.S. And of course, that had technical aspects around it. Well, the innovation came in from that. When you want to define the risk, right? Is this going to actually cause some type of fiber cut or breach or whatever? At that point in time, there was this whole floor of a major building that had physical maps of city layouts where you think like almost like CAD maps, of physical layouts where, you would see every building and you would see all the pipelines and all the sidewalks. And someone had to go find the map and try to figure out like where this house was and their backyard was in relation to this map. And did we need to send a field person out because it was close enough to actually decide if there was going to be a fiber cut or not, or to mark? Well, there was this new thing at that time that was starting to really come into like normal people's world called GPS. And so I took all these maps and I automated everything using GPS coordinates, right? And I built the first actually like in the field, like mobile device on a laptop at that point in time, on a laptop ability for them to kind of zone in with GPS coordinates to understand what that looked like. So again, this was all new at that time. There wasn't anything that a lot of the people who had more experience than me or were more technical than me, these were new technologies. And so I was learning the time they were. And again, I had that ability to translate human-centric, business-oriented outcomes into design that wasn't necessarily their strength. Their strength was building a feature. Right?
Yeah.
Understand the end picture. So that's the evolution, and definitely people started to look up to me as a part of that, and that's evolved my career. Those skill sets have been what has built my career.
That's brilliant because I do talk to a lot of technical people, and I always tell them the biggest challenge is building the bridge between technology and business. Yes. If somehow you can translate or you can build a bridge, being a technologist with the business, you have a unique value to the table, and you can add a lot of value. Yeah,
I think now in the world or the day of AI, it's even more important, right?
Yeah.
And there's great technologists. Don't get me wrong out here. I am the worst developer in the world, and trust me, I've spent time developing, so I've spent a lot. I'm horrible at it because it's not the way that my brain thinks, right? My brain thinks in very large, very large problem sets and not like break fix circuit. Do you know what I mean? I don't think that way. But I would say that in the world of AI, especially, as AI starts to automate more of the technical aspects of building solutions, that part of it is going to be taken over by machines. What matters is that something that should be built? And how should it be built in a way that's actually bringing business value and impact, right?
Yeah.
And then, how do you do that? So I think that skill set is going to become more and more and more important.
Yeah.
And I've spent a lot of time at a lot of major tech companies, Microsoft, Salesforce, Tableau, you name it. And definitely, there's some of the best engineers in the world. But I would also say there's a lot of engineers who can't have a solid conversation with the business. Do you know what I mean? They're lacking the ability to communicate appropriately or to plan and organize appropriately or to correlate problem sets across different business functions, appropriately in a way that you can actually have major impact and convey that to the business in a way that they'll support you.
Yeah, and I think this is the value that you bring to the table. And now I want to switch gears a little bit.
Yep.
So we are going into 2025. AI, data, cloud, and Google just launched new quantum computing stuff, the Willow part. And funny enough, every time I go into the episodes or I talk to my friends, I always brag that quantum computing.ai is owned by me. I bought that domain 3 or 4 years ago because I was thinking, I'm like, man, everybody's talking about data, cloud, and now people are talking about AI. Next thing will be how to do fast processing, and then next will be quantum, right? Blockchain and quantum. So anyways, so let's talk about the trends. So in 2025, what do you see? What's coming for us?
Well, so we're very like-minded on quantum, and I don't know if you follow some of my posts or even you talked about my own podcast earlier. Yeah. I've had several episodes on this, right? Because people are so in shock just over AI. And I'm like, how? This has been evolving for a long time. AI is not new, right? It's been around for like 50 plus, 60 years, to be honest, but it's becoming more simple to use, right? Anyone can use it. That's really the shift. But like quantum, right? I'm like, if people are already worried about AI, they're going to be more worried or more shocked when we get quantum-powered AI, because that's truly going to be revolutionary and almost more human-like in regards to how quickly we can process and make, and make information and movements. So like-minded that way. So when it comes to, trends, there's a couple of things that are top of mind to me. One, I always talk about quantum AI is coming. And so one of the big things that I think should be a major focus is, quantum encryption, right? I mean, here's the reality. We're having problems with breaches already without AI. Okay, without AI, we've already got AI breaking traditional encryption patterns. In fact, there was a big study that just came out of China, just broke the traditional encryption with AI. Funny problem. And the traditional mechanism of how encryption happens after the fact is not going to work at all with quantum, right? So when you're talking about sensitive data or IP or financials or health records or all types of other things, people really, really now need to start thinking about how they're going to protect that in a quantum encryption kind of world, right? And what's coming with quantum. Because those things are evolving today. You need to have a really long trail of strategy, preparedness, and economics to support that, right? In regards to what's evolving. AGI, I think that there is, obviously, I'm kind of the mindset that, has AGI already happened? We don't even have a clear definition of what AGI I mean, there is no singular definition of what AGI is that's out there. And I think if you already look at things coming like through Willow, and I saw that as well. I saw that some of their like compute was like, I can't remember how many years they said it would take on a traditional PC. It was like some number.
10,
like,
I think it was a 10 to the power of 25. And
tell you.
Yes, exactly.
Look, AGI, there's a lot of reason labs have shut down certain types of experiments already. And I think we will see an official AGI in the next couple of years. I would say less than 5 years for sure.
Yeah.
Right? And I think it really just matters on a clarity around the definition for people to call it. Do you know what I mean? And I wonder if it's truly already happened, because I would say that just what's coming out of, Claude, or what's coming out of ChatGPT or any of the other things would arguably be more intelligent and pass more tests than, say, the average person coming out of college or the average person coming out of high school, right?
Yeah.
So again, what's average for a human even? Let's define that too. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So AGI for sure. I think, sentiment is awfully going to come on the horizon. And I'll be honest, I'm super excited about that. I'm also super worried, right? I think there needs to be, from a trend perspective, there needs to be a lot more focus, not necessarily on agents, because everything's going down the agent path, but I think that holistic data management practices and risk management practices have got to be a trend, and they've got to be, intelligent eyes in themselves, right? The existing processes don't scale. And when the regulations are so far behind and the tech is running at such the pace that the tech is running, people don't understand what information the tech has access to. It's just going to cause a lot of problems, right? And some of them are going to be heartbreaking, like the child who committed suicide, right, in Florida because of a bot, and it wouldn't even acknowledge it was human and encouraged him to, go down a dark path, right? People are not transparent in the tech. People are overly focused on tech for tech versus what's the human outcome related to, or impact related to the tech. So I think we'll see a lot more evolution around what responsible use and ethics means from a systematic perspective, right?
Yeah.
Right? Not just words. I also think intelligent applications. I've talked about this a lot of times. I love this. I think this is going to be huge, and I think it's going to transform a lot of the technology markets. Like, I think it's going to do a serious hurt on SaaS companies. And really what the concept of is around intelligent applications is kind of like these agents, but it's even more impactful, right? So if you think about agents as being like outcome specific or scenario specific, almost like individual apps of intelligence, right? That's kind of what an agent is. What an intelligent application is it is basically building, think like knowledge graphs plus LLMs directly on your data lakes. Because once you build enough with these agents to where AI can start to learn your business process and your decision tree, you no longer need the applications themselves. Okay? All you need is an ingestion and a store, and then put your agent, your intelligent applications directly on top of it, and then let your humans in the loop use the knowledge graphs, etc., to make sure the streams or decisions are being handled the right way and the training are being done the right way. And I think that's going to be huge, because that means you don't have to pay for this software and this software and this software and this software. That means you don't have the risk associated to data duplication or quality or process issues between those things. It also means you don't have the risk related to geo-residency or privacy or any other types, or even access control and breaches. You know where to protect because you know where your assets are, and everything's happening right on top of the processing right there. Okay. I think that is going to be a major, major, major thing that happens in the next few years.
So much good information. Think about what you just said in the last 5 minutes. We talked about quantum computing, that we talked about AGI, we talked about risk management when it comes to data, we talked about intelligent applications. Wendy, I'm telling you, like whatever you just shared, it's amazing information because you are absolutely correct. In this direction, the 2025 onwards, the momentum, the wave is looking like. Question I have for you for the next level of discussion. So it's very clear that thought leadership, you have just nailed it, what you just said. Now, let's talk about the next level of it. What is your suggestion for the data leaders and other leaders in the same space? How can they implement these kind of ideas? What do they need to do to build a center of excellence? And how can they start some MVPs, POCs, and take it to the next level?
Yeah. So, number one, I don't think you even know this, but I'll call out. I have a whole book dedicated to this, actually, that came out just this year. So it's called Unleashing the Value of Your Data Through Trusted AI. And it's explicitly written for board of directors or executives to help them around those exact questions that you asked. Okay. So check it out, great Christmas gift, etc. And really filled with a lot of information. So I broke it down to 7 steps. Okay. Number 1, do not do anything if you don't understand your business strategy. Okay. Everything should be about AI with intent. Okay. AI with intent. You can't just throw AI on top of everything. A, that's not how it works. But 2, you're not going to get the outcomes that you want when you do that. You're more likely to get a lot of risk and be on the news for a lot of bad things that come out of that. So make sure you understand your business strategies and be intentional about where you want to start. To define where you start, know your business strategy, know your data. Okay. So again, you don't have to have like the best, data management maturity index in the world. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that know your strategy, know where you have a high quality, repeatable data where you know the outcomes associated to how that data is being used, and it's persistent in nature, right? Like it's clean, it's ongoing, it's cyclical. You know what to expect. So take a lot of the things that you consider almost like operational, like on continuous, run process, start there, right? Because you know what to expect and you know the data's there to actually do it. Then from there, I think that you got to go a little deeper, right? Once you identify, maybe you've got 5 things in the company that are truly ripe, right? Based on the data itself to be AI'd. Then I go in and start figuring out like, who's the stewards? What's the quality? What's in it? Make sure that there's no PII. Make sure there's no, there's no kind of high sensitivity data related to it, etc. And I would use AI in itself in like a sandbox or container to kind of update your what do you want to call it? Like your data management processes, your cataloging about that data, and even like your handling, right? Your policy pieces related to it. Use it as a sandbox to proof point and test, right, what you're doing. Then I think there's some various other things. You've got to set up things like, your A team related to AI governance. How do you pick it? Who runs it? So I think there's things related to people, process, technology and the data itself that you've got to kind of wean through in order to do that. And again, there's really 7 steps. It starts with that business strategy. It starts with knowing the data. It starts with then defining that A team who's accountable for decisioning and making sure they understand those responsible use aspects, etc. And then it goes, deeper from there. But that's where I would start, right?
Very nice. Yeah. I'm going to check out the book. It sounds really useful to me personally because hardcore, I'm a technologist, but I'm still trying to elevate my knowledge when it comes to business. I would love to read that book. So
I'll send you a soft copy. I've got a soft copy. I'll send it to you. I'm happy to get your feedback on it. But it's meant to be a guide for people who are not necessarily deep technologists, who are stewards.
Brilliant.
And how to appropriately steward and where do you start on that and decision what to focus on That's what the book's about.
Oh my God, I love it. Wendy, I want to talk to you about this, about innovation versus risk.
Yeah.
I swear, like every leader that I talk to, he or she wants to innovate. But as I talk to a lot of enterprises, Fortune 500, 1,000 companies, their first challenge is risk. Man, I can't risk it. How should we educate these leaders? What can they do to bring that innovation and also take care of the risk mitigation, which, your InfoSec or security team brings to the table?
Yeah, or even data teams.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
So, I tend to, so this is a topic I propose on all the time. It's actually something I go really deep into that book about risk management. And I'm saying, like, if you take an approach, don't think about security by design, right? Which is a typical kind of a risk management kind of cultural shift that a lot of people implement. I go, instead, think about data by design. And if you think about data by design, you can get various things out of that. And that is, when you get actually strategic alignment to business outcomes. 2, you can proactively actually design your data in a way where you're reducing the risk associated to things like sensitive data, right? Like again, data teams have lots of nice little tricks they can do to maintain and make sure that they're not designing that into the streams to begin with, or they're putting those in very, very highly more secure areas and calling it in separate ways, right? API economies, all types of different things. I go, but you can also get privacy by design. You can get ethics by design. And you can get security by design if you just do data by design. You know what I mean? And think about it as an end-to-end process, right? So shift data left is like number 1. Number 2, innovation can be risk innovation, right? Like, what does innovation mean? Right? Like, innovation is just coming up with new processes in a cutting edge way and using some type of, usually a technology or something to do it slightly differently. When you're thinking about, adding a feature or a technology, also think about how you're innovating in the risk area, right? Things could be as simple as, like, I'll go back to the child who committed suicide. Why are people not just automatically putting in some type of watermark into their products that says, this is an AI generated, conversation, or this is an AI generated, a picture or video or whatever? Like, that's actually innovative. And it's something where people want the transparency. So how can you innovate around transparency, right? So again, people need to ask themselves what innovation means. And they need to also understand that right now, with the world of AI, and especially what's coming with quantum, risk and transparency and trust are innovative areas related to securing the success of what it is you're building and continuing to build your brand and your customer base when people are worried about these spaces. So again, make sure that you're including these areas in your innovation plans, themselves. Like, they are innovative.
Yeah, no, man. I think that's a brilliant point. Security, transparency, access control. When you have this data governance at place, you can start innovating faster because you know who is accessing what, and you can see the report. Yeah.
Who's accessing what and how what is supposed to be used.
Exactly.
You could even back to, AI and bots and things like that, right? You can introduce things into the experience that provide the actual transparency that humans are looking for when they are worried about AI and they're worried about those interactions. Like, transparency in itself is an innovative thought process, and you can embed that in what you're doing. So again, I didn't quite answer your question to a degree, but yet I did, because I'm shifting the question back, right? To say, we all have, innovation is just doing something new. Think about that on your risk landscape.
Yeah. Yeah, very good point. Wendy, as we close this episode, do you have any advice for aspiring leaders?
So advice for aspiring leaders. So I would think a couple of things. Continuous learning, as we talked about this whole episode, right? Yeah. World is changing. The technology is changing. The interactions between people to people to people to technology is changing. And no one has the secret sauce right now. There's no playbook for this. It's changing on a daily basis. So lean in and learn yourself, like learn, play with tools, read what's happening on the market, ask your teams what's going on. There's no specific tech that's necessarily the forefront leader. There's no regulations that are truly at play that are sticky at this point in time. There's, so learn, okay? Talk to your customers, etc. I think that ability to be agile, right? Again, agility and innovation is really, really important right now. And back to innovation means a lot of different things. Take a step back and think about there's a lot of things that you can innovate that have been existing long-term problem sets that you can now automate in certain ways that will truly make a new niche in the market for you because it's such a high focus for, the customer base and regular people. I think that another area is, just being there to support your teams, right? I think there's a lot of fear right now with a lot of people in regards to, what is this going to do to their jobs? What is this going to do to humans? Will have to be in the loop. And I'm not going to say there won't be job cuts. There obviously will be job cuts. And there's obviously going to have to be systemic changes made in a lot of the programs around the world to make sure like equal income and, other types of things are going to have to come into play. But have open dialogues just around those concerns, around those risks, because if your employees are worried, you're probably worried yourself. And frankly, having conversation about them and being proactive about how you handle them, how you ensure humans in the loop is going to be beneficial, right? So back to transparency, back to innovate, agility, and back to, continuous learning.
Brilliant. Wendy, please do share your book information. I will share in my episode. This is amazing. Thank you so much for making time for me on Friday afternoon.
Of course. Do you mind if I throw one more thing out?
Please.
For everyone, we didn't get a chance to talk about this. And actually, Niraj, you may not even know about this, but I actually have a nonprofit that is totally focused on these types of discussions. It's called the Association.ai, the word, the Association.ai. And it is basically a for practitioner, by practitioner forum that is focused on creating a safe, neutral place for anyone who works in the fields of AI, data, ethics, privacy, robotics, or security, because they have their hands on the physical keyboards implementing to help give them a community as we shape these changes, right, around the globe. So join. It's free for anyone to join. There's zero cost. And again, trying to bring practitioner voice to the table to really help through this transformation for all.
Oh my God.
I appreciate you spending the Friday afternoon with me as well.
Yes. Thank you so much. Happy holidays.
Happy holidays to you.
See you.
See you later.
Bye.
Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Better You. I hope you enjoyed our deep dive into today's topic and found some valuable insights to help you on your growth journey. If you liked what you heard, be sure to subscribe to the podcast so you never miss an episode. And don't forget to leave us a review and share Better You with your friends. Together, let's continue exploring the exciting world of tech and business. Until next time, stay curious, stay innovative, and keep growing.